Hi. The book I read was the Luminal Zone, written and illustrated by Junji Ito, translated by Jocelyn Allen, and lettered for English by Eric Erbs, and published by Viz Media. The page count is 208 pages, so this is not a graphic novel, but it's more of a compilation of short stories, four short stories to be exact, which means there's four sets of Act 1s, 2s, and 3s. So for this assignment, I just focused on the first story, which is titled The Weeping Woman. It's pages 3 to 66. Act 1 begins on page 3 with a young couple stopping at a random train stop at a small village on a whim. Act 1 ends and Act 2 begins on page 11 after visiting a funeral with the weeping woman. Our protagonist, Mako, starts to cry all the time after returning home from their trip. Act 2 ends and Act 3 begins on page 53. Mako and her fiance, Yahuru, the other protagonist, escape the Weeping Woman village, where the Weeping Woman wants Mako to cry over corpses forever to help souls pass on. Yeah, it's weird. Act 3 ends, and thus the story, as well, on page 66. Mako's body bursts through her casket at her own funeral and literally explodes into tears. All the weeping women from the village rush to the funeral to get her. I believe Yahuru to be it's his story. I think he's the main protagonist, or maybe even antagonist to Mako, but it's his story. His goal is to marry Mako and live the life that he wants with her. In Act 2, he keeps pulling Mako away from her talents and her calling, the weeping, not letting her stay to weep and keep the souls of the dead at rest. The story arc has a clear beginning, middle, and end. Yuhuru is about to marry Mako, but something draws her to the weeping woman. She sees Mako's innate talent. Yuhuru takes Mako home, who is now overcome with sadness. They eventually return to the weeping woman, where she begs Mako to stay. Mako wants to stay and help the weeping woman and weep for the lost souls, but Yuhuru forces her to leave, which leads to her ultimate demise. I believe Mako has the most prominent story arc. She is just going along with her normal life, but discovers what she is meant for and what her true calling is, and in the end, through death, does get to use her talents. The story primarily uses movement to movement and action to action transitions, as McLeod shows in his book, and they make for excellent transitions in the story. They're used masterfully, and I'll show you a couple examples here. First up is movement to movement. And I think right here is a pretty good example of movement to movement. Go here, there, and there. It's the head. She's standing up, turning, and then you can see her half head here bursting into tears. Pretty gruesome images, by the way. I should have probably given a warning for that. And then later on, which I just lost my bookmark, we have some action to action, but I think I just found it here. So right here on this side of the book, we've got some action to action. He's running away. He's fighting off the weeping women. He's running away again, and then the weeping women are chasing after them. So I think that's some good action to action right there. And the book is primarily comprised of those two types of transitions. I believe each page to work also as a mini comic. The page has a mini comic idea, which is each comic page tells its own little story within the page. There's no hang-ups at the bottom of the page, and each page is a complete idea. Each page also has great flow with text and images naturally leading your eye to the next scene. That is once you get used to reading back to front, back to front and right to left, because that is how manga is written, and that's how it's read in Japan. I would highly recommend this to anybody who loves horror and anybody who wants to study and master storyteller work. Manga can be a hard barrier to breach for some, but Junji Ito is a true master of horror and comic writing and illustrating. So I recommend not letting the fact that it's a manga hold you back from reading this. Fun fact, I'm a huge Junji Ito fan. You can see me here posing with all my Junji Ito books, my collection, like a weirdo. Alright, thanks for watching.